What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Rick, we are at a chapter that, I've got to say, frankly, the title intrigued me before I even read it, very much so. It's chapter 37 in your book, The Tiger Whisker.
Mm-hmm.
And the title is A Humbling Experience.
Oh, I've had a lot of those.
I think we all have, but it's funny, and people have said this to me. Your experiences, as we've related through the podcast now, for over 35 chapters, your experiences always seem to be a little bigger than life. Your life is not exactly like anybody else's who I know. So a humbling experience when it comes to you, I can only guess.
You know what it is? I think more so than when you listen to my stories and I share those with those listening. We all have, that's what the Tiger Whisker is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And we already shared that story. And if you've not listened to the Tiger Whisker chapter, of course you need to, because it's the central focal point of the entire book,
mm-hmm.
as well as the podcast. And that is everybody has a tiger whisker to give to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has something great to give to somebody else. They just don't see it. They don't know it. And sometimes the little things in life I see in a big way, and they affect me. And the word is massively, and I mean it. It
mm-hmm.
affects me. And I see things where someone will just pass by and not notice the scenario. And I'm like, wow, that's a story. That's amazing. There was and someone's going to take this from me, I know, but there was a time that I wanted to go out and make a show about the items that people hang over their mirror in their cars, and go across the country and ask people, what's the story behind what's hanging on your mirror in your car? Because there are amazing stories and reasons why people do. So you're going to have the basics. You're going to have, well, that was my tassels from my college graduation, this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hang something over your mirror other than a pair of dice,
guilty.
There is going to be a reason, and in my opinion, in that person's life, an important reason as to why they do so. They want to remember whatever that is
mm-hmm.
daily.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be unique because everybody has a story to tell.
I love that. That's brilliant. Okay, but we've got to ask you now. What's over your mirror in the truck?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I'm the exact opposite. I have a very clean interior of my truck.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like papers spread out.
Oh, me neither. No.
I don't handle a receipt even in the glove compartment.
Nope.
It goes on and on. I'm pretty bad at that. So
nothing. I'm shocked.
If it's going to be anything, it's going to be a key that I can't forget because I'm picking up my car or my truck or whatever.
Practical. You're using it as a practical storage reminder device. I've got the dice.
But
I've got the dice.
You just have to drive down the road and people have things hanging over their mirrors.
You've come up with a new podcast.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. There you go again. What's hanging on your mirror podcast? Anybody take that who's listening and you're going, oh, you're in trouble now. Because,
you're in deep trouble.
Right, because this belongs to Rick. So
these stories I share, just this chapter alone, are simple.
Mm-hmm.
They're simple stories. And there's a third story I want to share. And I am really debating on sharing this story because I think it's just because of the words that the woman shared with me and that they were so aggressive.
Huh.
And I want to make sure that people realize, well, I realize that the human race can sometimes be extremely uncaring.
That's true.
And
Sure.
so if you want to hang out till the end of this podcast and I share it, you make a little note and say, Rick, are you willing to share this with us?
Okay.
I'll do so. And it has to do with someone who
warn.
came and saw my show and her comments after the show.
Okay, we're going to hold that to the end, and we will warn you before it comes. If you want to jump out, but I'm going to say and I don't know the story. I do not. I don't have a clue what Rick is talking about here.
It'll affect you. It'll affect you because
sure
it has
it will.
something to do with the animals.
Oh,
and
see,
you
there
being
you
an
go.
animal lover
There you go.
and someone who has a passion
Yes.
for animals,
Yes.
you will in some way understand what I share and in other ways realize that sometimes people can go a little too far one way or the other on what they embrace in this world.
They can. Well, we will warn you before that one comes up. But I'm going to say, without having any real knowledge of the story other than that it's going to be worth hearing because all your stories.
And I don't know if I have it in another part of the book. I might. So if I've said it or I say it again, it's worth saying during this chapter. So this is indeed a humbling experience.
Well, I love how in the very beginning of the chapter, you call some of these aha moments. And sometimes things do make us sit up straight, wake up, and take note. And I think that's what these stories do. So let's tell your first one. You're talking about a gentleman down on his luck. And boy, do we see that often, right?
Well, even now here with my show in Branson, we are finding more and more people on the streets in need of help. When I first got here 10 years ago, that, in my opinion, was not the case. You didn't see it. Middle America, everybody's taking care of their own.
Nice.
And in some way or form, things are now changing. The economy is changing. People down on their luck is changing. And it's a frustration to see people out there doing whatever they can to survive. So here we are, outside a convenience store. And it is one of those aha moments for me. And it changed my life, or at least my perception of people. And I'm going to tell you now right up front, I still have issues or problems finding the needed love or concern I should have for others. I get frustrated constantly with people. Yeah, and I just kind of walk away from it because I can't handle it, or I can't. So when I share this with you, these are moments that were important in my life. And at the same time, I don't write these moments to say that I've got my act together. I don't write these to say that everything is just going peachy keen in my life. So just to understand, when I share this with you, these are moments that when you see people around you, step back just a bit and see what's going on in their lives as well. And repeat it as I have said it before, you need to be a little kinder to everyone because you really, truly do not know what they are going through.
Well, we're all going so fast. Everybody, I don't care what your profession is or what your life is like. We're all moving at the speed of sound, it seems like, with so many things to do, so many things coming at us all the time with cell phones. And, sometimes you just, at least I do, I just want to scream the word quiet and have everything stop for just a minute. Please, God, just a minute. And so sometimes, dealing with that, we do kind of shove people off to the side just in our own rush, in our own frustration, as you said. And later you think, I shouldn't have done that. And it's not out of meanness or anything like that. For most people, it's simply, I was just too overwhelmed. And I think that really is the word. We're just so darned overwhelmed that sometimes we just don't seem to have room for anybody else. So I get it.
And this has a lot to do also with our financial situation. This first one. And whether you think you're stable financially and this doesn't pertain to you, sometimes it doesn't because you see others who have less and you may not be so inclined to assist them in some way or form. I remember some of the final words that Steve Jobs shared with the world when he passed, and it wasn't about his money.
Right.
You know, he had everything you can imagine, and it literally was the relationships with others and stopping to really realize what life was all about. And it wasn't the car you drove.
Nope.
It wasn't the yacht you had. Now, of course, he had all of
Yeah,
those.
it's a little easy to say from his vantage point, perhaps, but
right.
But
I think that when it comes down to it, take it for what it is
Yeah.
and realize that when you are struggling and you don't have the yacht that you wished you had, or your own private island, that in the end it isn't about the finances. So
No, it's not.
I mentioned
Okay.
this gentleman because he had a very low point in his life. There was no doubt about it. This is in Las Vegas. And it was literally right next to the stratosphere.
Okay. I know
And
right where
there's
you're at.
a fueling station there. And he would sit outside the convenience store most days and ask everyone walking into the store for $1.
Okay.
He'd say, "Can I have $1? Can you give me $1?"
$1.
And it was consistent.
Okay.
I found him there most days. And to me, at first, it became a frustration because he was there every day. And it just appeared to me, I don't understand why this guy is here. He has 2 legs. Mentally, he looked like he was physically able to work. I was judging him on his outward appearance. Again, I don't know where his mind was in all of this, but every day I'd walk into the store and he says, can I have $1? Can I have $1? I need $1. And so I thought I would throw a wrench in the scenario one day because I saw him there every morning walking in. And I turned to him and before he could say anything, I said, "Can I have $1?"
Oh my. Okay.
Because it's all I ever heard over and over and over. And I said, "Can I have $1?" And instantly he reached into his pocket.
Oh my.
And he gave me $1 without hesitation.
Whoa.
Didn't ask why. Didn't ask what I was going to use it for.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing. I mean, this man still, he was always barefoot. His pants were thrashed. He just was a really difficult man down on his luck.
And here you are.
And I didn't see him
great.
using or abusing anything, not drug ridden or anything like that. It's just a man just sitting there saying, "I need $1. I need $1." And I sat there and I thought, this man is truly impoverished.
Yeah.
He is challenged in so many ways. And when I said, "Can I have $1?" he didn't even blink.
Oh my God.
No hesitation whatsoever. He took and pulled that $1 out and gave it to me. And it hurt my heart. I stopped at that point judging that man because to me, again, it was a life-changing experience. He had nothing.
Right.
And he was willing to give me what little he had and ask nothing in return.
Or even an explanation. Nothing.
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing. He just said, "There's $1. If you need it, there's $1." And I felt at that point, and I use these words cautiously, but I also felt ashamed. I felt small. I felt taught.
I can see it. I can see
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So what did I do? I said, "Keep your $1." And I gave him an additional 20.
Yes. Yes.
Because he taught me a lesson.
Awesome.
Now, where that man is today, I do not know. I don't know his challenges in his life or what may have happened after I never saw him again. But the lesson he taught me that I shall never forget, and I hopefully sharing this with you, I thank him for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's generosity beyond generosity. Was he no longer at the store? Did you stop going?
He was there often after, but I would go to other stores and life just went on, and there was a point where I didn't see him at the store anymore.
Oh.
Like I said, it's and I asked myself, well, I could have given him more. I could have tried to get him off the street. There are other things I could have done, and I think that I might have, when I look back on it, fallen short on not caring even more about somebody that I should have. No. And he taught me the lesson rather than I assist him. That the $20 I gave him that day and any other money I gave beyond that. In reality, that's why I brought up the Steve Jobs story briefly. This man really needed money, but it's not money that brings us happiness. It's not money that's going to save us from our life's troubles. It is to get us through our challenges.
Right.
But
wow,
he taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
And today, I don't have another way of thanking him other than making
Right.
sure it went in the book. You know what I find fascinating? I find fascinating talking about the billions of people that have come and gone on this earth, and the very few of us who actually end up in the history books of the world.
Oh, right.
Compared to the amount of people
Mhm.
that have been here and are now gone, there's not been a lot written
No,
about our history.
we're anonymous.
So many people's lives came and went without a word spoken about them
Yeah.
or put down on paper
Yeah, they're just
or remembered
gone.
in any way or form.
Yeah, they disappeared.
They disappeared. So even with this scenario, though he has disappeared and I don't know where he is, at least his life in some way or form was put down on paper because it changed mine.
Documented.
And,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
That's the best I can do at the moment. I'm lost for words on that. I really didn't even know his name. But I think that once again, these are lessons that we learn, and in some way or form, find a way to be a little bit more compassionate to those around you.
Yeah, you don't know what people are going through. You have no idea. Even somebody who looks totally successful, fine. Now he was outside a convenience store, as you said. He was, not clean, didn't have shoes and all of that. So outwardly, you knew there was something going on with him. But there are a lot of people that we cross every day who look perfectly fine. Everything's hunky dory, and you have no idea what's going on in their lives.
Their life is a mess,
Right? Yeah,
it's a disaster.
Exactly. So you can't even judge who you need to be a little extra kind to, because sometimes it's so very well hidden that you just don't have a clue unless they reveal it to you. Wow.
So this isn't directly tied into the Tiger Whisker and giving to others, but it is.
Yeah.
These little things that you do for somebody else could be the biggest thing in their life.
Yeah.
My $20 I gave him wasn't the biggest thing in his life.
Oh, but
I realized at that moment that I was shamed. I was like, oh my goodness.
But what do you think he felt when you handed him back his dollar and you handed him a 20? Who else probably had ever handed that man a 20? What do you think?
Yes, but you know what today is, and I applaud those that are doing so. I don't know if they're trying to do it because they want more. They want more votes on TikTok or whatever it is. But there are now people out there giving away a lot of money to people on the streets. They're walking up to them and they're testing them, so to speak. And sometimes that's a little frustrating because that person on the street they may not have all their wits about them, or their life is so challenged they can't see anything in front of their nose. So they're trying to push them to see how far they'll go to give something back or to do something. And in return, they're giving $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, something that truly at that moment will change their life. So they're out there. People are doing good for others, and at the same time, I'm not quite sure what their final want is in all of this, because I would hope that most people would want to give to others and not have to stand up on the soapbox and say, look how good I am.
Well,
Look what I'm
exactly.
doing for others.
But I'm just thinking that you probably made that man happy in ways you and I could not even begin to fathom, because he'd been noticed. And, I'm sure people occasionally, as they went by, would throw him a dollar, just kind of shut him up. But you stopped and you gave him a 20. I think he probably was on the moon over that, because that to him was somebody caring a lot.
I appreciate it. But again, like I said, I could have done so much more.
Well,
but the lesson wasn't what I did for him. The lesson was what I got out of it as well. So that's what I want others to do. I want to realize that, man, when you step back just a little bit, there are stories in your life that are monumental. They're huge. You just don't know it. You just don't see it. So maybe it's just the way that I share it. And here's another one that was in this chapter. I wished I could have done more, but it was an amazing moment for me, and I learned a lot. So I'm down in Miami, Florida. I did a lot of cruise ships down there. And there are also people down there asking for money, and they're not just one person. They're like a line of people for 1 or 2 blocks. And every time we'd get off the cruise ship, there were just a line of people pleading for money. And you say to yourself, I can't give everyone everything because I wouldn't have anything left myself.
Well, yeah.
It's that bad. And that's a frustration too. I think that we need to turn our hearts, and our government needs to turn their hearts more so towards those who are destitute on the streets of our own country.
Agreed.
And yeah.
Absolutely. But,
that's my get.
It's so awkward sometimes when you see somebody like this and you had to face a line of them. Oh my gosh.
A line of them.
Oh
so who do you give to?
Right.
Who do you share with? And again, there were decisions that were made. And whether my decision was right or wrong, in my particular scenario, I have worked extremely hard in my life to gain a successful career. Magic is people. I've got young magicians of the world saying, "Rick, what did you do to get where you're at?" My words back to them are, "You don't want to know."
Right. Work your tail
because
end off.
It really takes a passion. It takes and that's with not just magic. That's everything.
It does. Yeah,
and we all need to push and just constantly do more. Believe it or not, do more than we think we should. I mean, I breathe in deep and say, okay, I guess I got to give a little bit more. Something's not going right.
Always do. That's how you succeed. That's how you stay successful.
So I'm walking down that street, wishing that I could avoid it because it's easier. It's easier to avoid seeing the poverty and the challenges that others are facing. Yeah. You hide behind your brick walls of the world, whatever it is. But there was a gentleman there and he had pencils. Pencils. He had all different types of pencils. He had colored pencils. He had just ones with fun erasers on it and things like that. And he was there on the street begging as well. But he said, if you can give me anything that you can afford, feel free to take a pencil.
Oh, my. Okay.
And I thought to myself, okay, he too is asking for money, and maybe I'm going to give him a little bit more than what the pencil is worth. But he showed, even in his struggles, the principles of I can't even say it, entrepreneurship.
There you go.
Okay. He was attempting to give me something in return.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
So when you have somebody asking for something or asking for money or whatever it is, and they show nothing other than they just want to take, it can be exhausting because you want them to get up and try. If you see that they can actually work, they should be. This person was at least attempting in the process with me giving him something that he would give me back something in return.
I like it.
And for that reason, I then gave to that person and took a pencil or two and felt a little better about somebody trying to give back something in return.
I agree with you. The other day I was getting off a freeway here in the San Fernando Valley and in California, and the off-ramp was backed up at the light. So you're sitting there for a while. And there was a fella, and he looked pretty rough. He had a squirt bottle and he had a towel, and he wanted to wash your window. Your windshield.
Yes.
And I watched this guy, because if you live in Southern California, you can sometimes sit on these off ramps for a good 5 minutes, at least.
Oh, no, 25 minutes.
You're right. You're right. It sure feels that way. But I watched him go car to car, and everybody's just shaking their head. And he didn't push. He didn't, get upset. He just went to the next car, and he went to the next car, and he went to the next car. And I watched him. And he came to my car, and I shook my head. I didn't need my windshield washed. And again, I watched him, and his whole demeanor was so gentle and so basically saying, hey, I'll do this for you if you can help me, but if not, it's okay. That the line was just about to move, and I swear, Rick, I rolled down the window and yelled at him, hey, come here. And I got my ashtray in the car is where I throw coins. I grabbed every single coin out of that ashtray, and he came to me. I said, hold out your hand. And I dumped all this in there. I said, I don't know how much it is, but it's yours. And he's, people are honking at me now, but I don't care. And he stared at me and goes, thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I mean, the man almost started to cry. And I
Yes.
had to roll the window and get the heck out of there. But at that moment, I just realized here this guy is. He's doing exactly what the pencil guy was doing. He was trying to give something to you to get something that he really needed. I don't know why you didn't
Right.
have a job. I mean, all that went through my mind when I sat there, why don't you go do that at a gas station? I had all these things going on. And I thought, I don't know why he can't do that. But he's trying so hard. And I just had to do it. I had to do it. And, you know, he started to cry, Rick. He
Yes.
started to cry because I wonder maybe that was, he hadn't made any money at all that day. And I almost started to cry. It was really, I felt good. I felt really good.
Now, this podcast is not meant to go find people who are doing something and wanting something in return.
No.
Helping everybody is critical,
Right.
and that my thing is that's the problem. Is I begin judging.
Yes.
I begin judging others.
Yep.
Oh, that person doesn't deserve anything, or that person doesn't deserve my time, or whatever it may be. And sometimes just seeing them at least trying to do something is heartwarming.
It is.
But don't forget those that are truly in need, and try not to judge others as harshly as we all do when we see somebody challenged on the street.
Right. Because you have no idea. Well, shall we do the other story?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do want to say the other story. I will pull back a little bit on
Okay.
her aggression.
We want to warn a little bit here. There's something in this story that you might find disturbing that Rick's about to tell. Okay.
Because it has to do with people on the streets.
So we just want to warn, but I'm saying I think you can handle it.
Yes,
I think
that
you can
handle it.
And
but it also shares with you it shares with you, and as I told you right from the beginning, I sometimes am extremely upset with the human race
Oh, yeah. I
and
understand
where
that.
they put their priorities.
Yeah, I understand.
And I
that.
know that we all need priority. I know that all of us embrace something more so than others. We have a passion for something,
Oh, yeah.
whether it might be lawn bowling or genealogy or whatever it is you decide to do in life. People can be overzealous
Oh, yes.
in that one thing that they do.
Yeah.
And everything else doesn't matter.
There are people like that.
Okay.
All right.
And we all can get that way because we all have a hobby or whatever it is, and that's what their life is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes try to see it from somebody else's point of view, but this time I was frustrated. So there, the end of the show.
Mhm.
This is at the Stardust in Las Vegas, and I'm literally standing in the showroom,
Mhm.
and everybody has left the room.
Oh, okay.
And a woman comes waltzing back into the room,
Oh.
and she begins to thrash me regarding the use of tigers in my show.
Oh, wow.
And I literally just stand there and let her share her story. She said, I have bought a ticket to your show. I watched your entire show, and your tigers, should not be in the show. You're not respecting the tigers,
Oh, dear.
and they need to be free. And in the process, that's a nice way of putting it, but she was literally in my face.
Oh.
And I first of all said, well, I commend you for buying a ticket and watching the entire show. I said, for the feelings that you have, I'm amazed that you even stepped foot into the theater. I mean, there's many people who have those types of feelings that they just don't even want to be part of it
Right.
or see it.
Right.
They just want to fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it. I never really had issues or problems with groups like PETA
Mm-hmm.
and others who really come down on people abusing animals,
Mm-hmm.
using animals in ways that are not natural for the animal, and more so want the animals to be free. I kind of remind people also as well that you are a lover of animals.
Yes.
A massive lover of animals.
yeah.
And if somebody told you need to get rid of your animals, what would you say?
I think the first thing I'd say is you're nuts. Second, I'd say, well, where in the world do you want them to go?
Well, I say, on the other point of view with this, is animals, because her problem was the tigers. She
Right.
goes, how dare you do this with the tigers?
Right.
And I said, in reality, there is no animal that was ever meant to be a pet.
True. Absolutely true.
Dogs were meant to be pets.
No.
Cats weren't meant to be a pets. Birds weren't meant to be a pet, but
Absolutely.
they are.
Yep. They are.
So we as humans decided that we were going to have pets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But because I have tigers in my backyard, oh, that's a no-no. That's way out of line.
Mm-hmm.
But the bazillion people who have a dog or a cat as a pet, that's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there really is no difference. Maybe the tiger is a little bit more aggressive. I'm going offline on this because this isn't the point of the story.
Right.
But it's the point that I had in my head.
Yeah.
I said, people are so into one thing. They're so into the animals. And then you've got a person who comes into you and says, without knowing how much I spent on the animals, how much I cared for the animals, how much I did for the animals in my life, in my scenario, in my setting, the way I thought I was doing things right.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, how dare you do this? How dare you have these animals? And I say, what about everybody else with dogs and cats?
Yeah.
So I put this in this arena with you as well because, Tammy, you know what it's like to have a pet. And if somebody came to you and said, you no longer are allowed to have these animals. Okay, that's what this woman was telling me. How dare you have these animals?
That wouldn't work.
You need to take them out of your life. Okay, so you kind of get it. And,
totally.
and for everybody else who have animals, please understand that, yes, tigers are maybe slightly different. They're an extremely dangerous animal. They are an endangered species, and we need to take great care of them. But in my opinion, I did. And I still have that love and concern for those animals. But that's with anybody. No animal was ever meant to be a pet.
And, some we have, like dogs, you mentioned dogs. Dogs were wild animals at one point. Now, we've bred them down so far that we've taken so much of their natural instinct out. We have a place out here in California, out near the desert. It's a dumping ground, unfortunately, for people when they don't want their dogs anymore. They dump their dogs there. It's way out in the desert. It's horrible. Coyotes, everything out there. And there's a woman I know who literally goes out there every night, traps people's pets, and saves their lives. These dogs can't survive because we've domesticated them to the point they don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to fight off a coyote. They don't know how to do any of these things. So some we've domesticated down to the fact that they can't survive anymore. But they all were wild animals at some point. Every animal was. My gosh.
That's a big deal going on right now with the economy.
Yeah.
People aren't feeding their families, and they're not able to feed their pets either. And you're exactly right. People are literally, the word dumping is such a bad way to say it, but they're literally just walking away from their pets because they can't take care of them anymore.
I've got to throw something in here, though. This is really interesting that you brought this particular thing up because I do a show for a radio station here in Southern California. It's a public affairs show. And I do all kinds of different groups and organizations. Well, I talked to a woman the other day, and she runs a national organization. I've got to give her a plug here. And she runs a organization called Pets for the Homeless. This is a nationwide organization, and she helps homeless people take care of their animals with food, with vet bills, with just about anything that they need. This is a multi-million-dollar a year organization, and it's all funded by donations. And she is an amazing, amazing woman. She's out of Carson City. Her name is Genevieve Frederick. And all of this started years ago when she saw somebody with an animal, and it was a homeless person. And all they were doing was trying to get money to feed the animal. They didn't care about themselves. It was just to try to feed that animal. So there are ways to get help if you can't keep your animal. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't search out these ways. Gosh, most of the animal shelters I know out here in SoCal, they have food banks even once or twice a month just to help people keep their animals and not dump them. So I got to give a shout out to Genevieve because she is amazing and her organization is outrageous.
That is beyond. It's just part of the world that we don't think about. The animals kind of lose out. Yeah. So here we are in this scenario, and we finally get to the point where I stress again that people are so focused on one particular subject or problem or whatever this woman had in her head, and that was, how dare I use these tigers in my show?
Mm-hmm.
And I then said to her, thinking about life in general,
Mm-hmm.
and me spending the amount of money that I did on taking care of these animals. I spent more money on these animals than most people spend on their entire family.
Oh, I bet.
It's just a huge amount of responsibility. So I said to her, why don't you take what you have and go find a family on the street and put a roof over their head and go take care of a family? Because I'm taking care of my tigers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking care of these animals. I'm doing the very best I can. So why don't you, in turn, do something for the homeless? Her words back to me
Oh, no.
were,
Oh, boy.
I don't care about the homeless.
Oh.
For all I care, they can all die.
Oh, God.
What kind of person was this woman?
There's words I can't say in a microphone.
I realized at that moment
Uh-huh.
that her
Wow.
agenda was extremely poor.
Uh-huh.
She literally used the word die.
Yeah.
And I said, you just said
Oh, my God.
a horrific statement about somebody else in the human race. You care less about other humans
Mm-hmm.
than you do about dogs, cats, and my tigers. It was so overwhelming. I was so viciously mad at her
Oh, yeah.
for saying something about people who are in the streets, whose life is in shambles, and
Mhm.
she could care less. And her life was more about the animals than it was humans. That's why I was trying to say, wow, sometimes people,
Yeah.
I've had people tell me I love animals more than I love humans. Okay.
Okay.
I
I'm there.
get it.
I'm there.
But okay,
I
but
do.
to make a statement, okay, there I know. I'm Tammy, and that's why I'm saying this to you,
Yeah.
because I know your relationship to animals.
Oh, yeah.
When she said this, I said to her, speak no more words.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to you anymore. Leave my theater. Walk
Yeah.
away. I don't want to talk to you.
She can't.
Because her directive, the way that she was, just the mentality of her mind, it was wrong.
Mhm.
So you need to take everything in perspective and realize that, in my opinion, I was doing everything I could. And I just didn't want to share a story where someone had said something so aggressive.
Mhm.
That I was literally shocked.
Oh, I
And
bet.
these are the stories that I get
Mhm.
from people consistently and constantly, coming from all different walks of life. And for that reason, some of them made it into my book.
Mhm.
And this one I needed to share because it was about the homeless. It was about people on the streets
Mhm.
that we should take care of, we should do more for. And there was a person whose mentality was, I don't care about these people. For all I care, they can disappear.
We need to care about everything that lives, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I care about everything that lives. Yes, I am particularly partial to animals. I find them to be finer people than a lot of people. And they
Yeah, okay, because they don't talk back.
no, and they love unconditionally, and they have a lot of wonderful qualities that I wish more humans had in more abundance. And they can't take care of themselves. They don't have the wherewithal. At the same time, I think if you care about animals, you have to care about all living things. But I want to say a couple things in defense of your tigers. I have to. Well, first
Okay.
off, as you've said, tigers in the wild are declining because they're being poached into oblivion.
Yes.
So if we don't have tigers in some kind of a safe environment, and I know people rail against zoos, but if we don't have zoos, if we don't have preserves, if we don't have places, we don't have tigers. You've taught
That's
me
right.
that.
They will be gone.
Yeah,
Right.
we will have no tigers. We'll have virtual tigers. And I'm sorry, a virtual tiger is not like coming face to face with a real tiger. The beauty is a tenth when you see them virtually of what you'll see if you ever get up close to one. I've gotten that privilege many times, and I marvel. I marvel. But I will say, because I have seen your show, I've seen the tigers backstage. I've held one of your baby tigers. I held baby Morpheus. I have a picture to prove it.
Yes, Morpheus.
Morpheus. Oh God, I love that little dude. I went to your home in Vegas. I saw your tiger enclosure. I saw how you care for them. Nobody could have done more for those tigers. They were cared for. They were healthy. They were loved. And so I will stand in defense of you and your tigers any day of the week.
Well, thank you.
You did a beautiful job with those tigers. They were happy tigers. And you know what? They're happy tigers now. You made sure when you ceased having tigers in the show that these tigers went somewhere wonderful and where they could live the rest of their lives and be happy and safe tigers. So, you know, if I ever come across that woman, I'll give her a piece of my mind on your behalf.
Well, once again, just like the gentleman who I never saw again, I don't know her name, nor will I ever probably see her again.
Hopefully.
And those are statements that, again, man, I'm just talking to her for just a few minutes, but the words that she shared with me have never been forgotten.
Oh, I bet.
And it was so aggressive, and it was so evil.
Yeah.
You know, just the way that she said it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
I said, you need to leave. You need to get out of my life. And so for that reason, I share these stories. That I don't think made it to the book. If it did, I'll have to reread my own book.
I don't think so. I don't think it's in there.
But it is apropos. It is important because it has to do with people who sometimes we look past, walk past, and it's difficult. The decisions that you need to make and how far you go out of your way to help others. It is a personal decision. We all do our very best at challenging ourselves, and in just this podcast alone saying today, if only today, you go out and open your eyes and see if there's somebody that you can help. That would be a positive way to finish up your day.
Well, it does give you a good feeling when that help is appreciated, when you see the look in somebody's eyes, or they're tearing up, or they say, God bless you, or whatever they say. You do feel good. It's a good feeling. There is something there for you as well. Well, we've alluded to how tough times are for everybody, no matter where you are in your life. It's difficult right now. It's every time we bring up the topic, it seems like we're saying it's getting more difficult. But money problems, finances, tight, the economy really tough. Survey this week came out talking to first-time home buyers. When were you going to be able to buy a home? When do you think you'll be able to do that? And a lot of them came back and said, I don't think I'll ever be able to buy a home. Ever. Yeah. Wow, what a statement for somebody, a young person, 20s or maybe early 30s, saying, I don't think I'll ever be able to buy a home. Because what is that? The American dream.
And not only is it just that one person buying a home, we already know with multiple fact-finding situations that it takes two people working endlessly to buy a home. Most of those youth and young adults, they have to live with somebody else. Yeah. Even if they're renting, because they cannot afford to live on their own.
It's true.
So buying a home is not, even today, a one-person scenario.
No, not any longer.
It's two, possibly three or four.
Which is crazy and doesn't seem fair, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get a heck of a lot better. You have a plan, though, Rick. You have found a way to protect your money, and it's something that actually makes a lot of good sense, and you're willing to share that info.
You and I, we record this podcast very early in the morning.
Yes.
When do you on your side of this microphone record?
7 o'clock.
Is it 8 a.m.?
7 o'clock California time.
7 a.m. All right. Before we got onto this podcast, I was talking to another wonderful individual regarding this very thing. That's how important it is in my life, no matter what time it is during the day. And it's basically, you've got to turn your heart and your mind and your soul to something that is of worth in this world, and that is precious metals. I know we have our dollars. I know we got our Bitcoin, and we should be frightened about all of it. We have a fiat currency, which is like monopoly money. Our economy is failing us at the moment, in my opinion. And with that, my family was taught how to purchase gold and silver
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it can protect your family and become an insurance policy with everything else that's going on. And that's what I share with those willing to type in their name and their phone number, and I give them a call and we chat about what I was taught and what I can share with you.
It's easy. You go to mansionofdreams.net/wealth, and that's where you type in your name and your info. And really, we're not fooling here. Rick will call you. You will get a phone call. It may be early in the morning.
Yes, it may be as it was today. It's a very early call, and they just wanted to know more. The question to me was, so Rick, how's it going with your gold and silver? And I usually tell people, you don't want to know. Because I told you a year ago, I told you 2 years ago, I told you before we all saw the economy and the way it was going. And do I have everything I want? No. No. Is everything perfect? No. But you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And that might be just one single piece of silver. But whatever it is, it's a beginning to protecting your life's savings and your family. And let me tell you this, I really honestly believe there's no one right answer.
No, there's not.
There's no one way to success. There's no one way to making your family right. We're all struggling just to do what we can to survive life. And I know that there's people out there saying, this is the way, this is what you must do. And I say, this is important. It's part of a diversification in your life. It might be something you're interested in as part of your life, but you've got to do something. And I'm here to help.
So it's worth a look. It's definitely worth a look. And again, it's simple. It's simple to make the first step. mansionofdreams.net/wealth. Fill out a form, and your phone's going to ring at some point, and it will be Rick, and he will tell you the secrets. He won't tell you the secrets of his illusions, but he'll tell you the secrets he knows about gold and silver.
Well, thank you, Tammy, for an amazing, in my opinion, podcast talking about other people other than ourselves, embracing both the animal kingdom and the human kingdom, and trying to make sense of it. And I know your passion once again for animals. And I knew that if I shared this with you, you'd like, what?
Yep, absolutely.
We can all learn that sometimes our passion for something may cause us to overlook other important things in life as well. So try to keep balanced.
Yep, everything in perspective.
Get a hold of me with the gold and silver, and I'll share what I know.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.